Why should we test? Rank, record, rank, and publish. Kids want to know what they can do. Kids like to know if they've improved. They definitely like to know if they're better than their teammates. You know, we are in a competitive, driven sport. They need to compete. Now, there's a lot of different philosophies on how to do this. I derive a lot of my kind of philosophy on why we test and what we do from the late Tony Wells, who in many ways was very much a kind of a feed the cats guy, but he was adapt or die was his philosophy. And we'll get into how that looks. It allows you to discover your athletes deeper. So you'll get to know, is my kid a really good jumper? Are they a really good sprinter? Are they the best at this? Are they the best in the area? Are they the best in the state? How do you know? Where do you know their strengths and weaknesses are? Okay? It's a check on our coaching. When you test and something goes backwards, okay, or your kid isn't performing well and you're like, man, I just don't get it. Why do they always choke in competition? Well, it could be that they, struggle with something from a mental standpoint, preparation-wise, whatever it may be. But often it's because they lack something legitimately physical that you probably haven't taken care of. And so it's an opportunity for you to figure that out, to make your athlete have a better experience, because that's what it's all about. If they have a better experience, they're going to be better, and you're going to be better too. Also allows you to minimize injuries. There might be things that you expect your kids to do that they might not be able to do. I had a young lady named Taylor Foster, and you can look her up. She was really good for one time in the week in practice. And then she would look horrible the rest of the week. And what was my mindset? Oh, she's just out of shape. She's not eating well, blah, blah, blah. Well, then we come to find out that, well, she's iron deficient. She's got low ferritin. And this is a sprinter. That usually doesn't happen. But she was 80 pounds if she was 100. And so we got her tested. We got her blood work done. We realized, oh my gosh, you've got this major, massive problem. I changed the training to give her a lot more recovery so that that ferritin score could come back up. And then she was a sectional qualifier in the 100. She's on a state qualifying relay. She was all state. She's one of the best leadoffs in the state of Missouri in our relays. But I wouldn't have known that if we didn't do some of this testing. Not only the physical tests that we can do as coaches, but also some of that medical stuff has to be taken care of as well. And then obviously improved interpersonal relationships. If they know you're testing them and you are creating and deriving solutions from the data that you give them, they know that you are working really hard to give them the best chance to be successful. Now, what I have up on the wall up here behind me is a thing called a radar graph. So most of these tests we do throughout the year with our athletes. And as it gets displayed on the radar graph, you can start to come to some conclusions about what type of kid they are. So let me ask the crowd, when you look at this, what might be a weakness for this athlete? Bench press is obviously weak. Yeah. So there's something going on comparatively that's different between her ability to produce power and output in the lower half of her body versus the upper half of her body. So you do these tests and you try to figure out, is it a strength issue? Is it a coordination issue? Is this athlete just different? I mean, you look at a guy like Dan Marino, that guy couldn't run away from a snowman melting, all right? But he could throw the ball super fast and release it super quick. We assume that this athlete, while quick on the ground or quick with their feet, might be quick with their upper body, and that's not always true, okay? And so how do we deal with that? What do we need to do to best deal with that situation? Then you look at this athlete, and this athlete to me looks like, well, they're obviously very fast, but there also could be something to be left to be desired in the jumping and coordination protocol as well. Their standing long jump isn't as good as their standing 30. Their 5 repeat bounds isn't as good as their flying 30. So now we get more information to figure out, aha, it might not be a strength issue after all. It genuinely could be a coordination issue. Because they're obviously still being able to push out hard for standing. They're obviously able to run really fast for flying. But what does bounding tell you is that they're probably not real good at coordinating that movement under single leg position or under a plyometric situation. And so then you can go, oh, well then we probably should be doing some sort of repeat bounding, some sort of jumping, some sort of coordination work. That might be more of a problem than just strength. It could be coordination work. And you can put this data up, and we do all of those tests. And so I have radar graphs on a whole bunch of my kids. Now I've done it so long that this tool doesn't necessarily do me as much good as the raw data does, but for someone new and yourself, that can help you. And what we do with this data and how I measure this is the number one person all time in the test is worth 100 points. Okay? And then you go all the way down to the 100th person, okay? And that's worth 1 point. Anybody below that gets 0 points. And so when you're trying to tell your athletes, like, hey, here are opportunities, here are things you're really great at, here are things that we can do, and that allows you to then sell them on shoring up the weaknesses or moving them to an event that shows that they might have a little bit more strength or ability in something else in comparison to not only themselves, but the hundreds of kids you've coached in your tenure.